Welcome back everyone. In this video, I will review the all-new Profoto A2, a tiny but mighty addition to the Profoto line. Lots of you had questions about this brand new little light regarding power, portability, and most of all, where it fits in a working photographer's camera bag. So without further delay, let's get into it. The Profoto A2 is Profoto's newest addition to their popular OCF line, which is designed to give working photographers access to portable and powerful lights when they're working out on location. This light shares the same head as the Profoto A10 series, which is compatible with all of Profoto's click modifiers. This is extremely useful considering that one of the most significant drawbacks of the Profoto A10 is that it's not powerful enough to use in a moderately bright environment through a modifier. First, let's go over the specs. The Profoto A2 is 100 watts per second. In easier to understand terms, it's about 25% more power than the Profoto A10. Now in my testing at full strength though, I found that the Profoto A2 would be about one stop brighter than the Profoto A10, which can definitely come in handy where I shoot in the California sun. The light features 10-stop power range and lets you dial in precise power with accurate and consistent color throughout the power range, which is pretty typical for most Profoto lights. The light features AirX connectivity, which works perfectly with the new Connect Pro remote, and you can adjust all of the settings from your phone, which I'll get into in just a little bit. The A2 also features all of the other things that you would expect in an OCF light: full TTL, high-speed sync, easy-to-use interface, a built-in modeling lamp, and a magnetic mount for Profoto Click light shaping tools. One of the big standouts here though is battery life. This light uses the same battery as the Profoto A10 series. While the A10 can output about 450 full power flashes, despite this light being only 25% more power, it can shoot a whopping 450 full power flashes. Now, I fully expected the battery during my test shoot with this to die a lot quicker than it did, but it got me through an entire shoot and then had some left to spare. Getting into the modifier mount, Profoto has the absolute best modifier system for speedlights. The click modifiers, while expensive, are high power, convenient, and easily stored in your camera bag by stacking them on top of each other. Earlier this year, Profoto introduced the Click Octabox. It's a quick setup softbox that magnetically attaches to your flash head, and I found it super useful when using it with the A2. The A2 is fully compatible with all of these modifiers, making it an excellent choice for photographers who like to work on location and they want to pack light from day to day. Now, the showstopper feature here is the form factor of this light. This light is about the size of a can of Coke, and it's incredibly lightweight. So it will easily fit in your camera bag and could even share a slot with some of your smaller lenses or your click modifiers. Now at $995, this light is a bargain, at least as Profoto lights go, coming in as the least expensive Profoto OCF light available on the market today. Now I could go on and on with geeky specs that you could probably read on any of your favorite camera stores' websites, but most of you here have been asking, where does this light fit in with the Profoto ecosystem? Do you need it? How much will you use it? And should you buy this or an A10? Now to answer that question, we need to look at what lights are currently in the system. If we look at this from a mere power standpoint, we have the Profoto A10 sitting on the bottom, being an on-camera light, and then we have the A2, then we have the B10 and the B10 Plus sitting at the top of the power spectrum. Now as you go up the ladder, you gain power, but you lose portability. The A2 is an excellent balance of both power and portability. And while this light is not as powerful as a B10, it provides more than enough power to get through a typical portrait shoot on location. At least for me it does. These lights also make for great wedding reception lights because they have a speedy recycling time and excellent battery life. The Profoto B10 is a bit more power than I usually need when photographing a wedding. When working outdoors, I typically work with bare flash to match the hard light look in my environment. Now, if you live in an area that has a lot of overcast sky, you might find yourself often using your light through a softbox in order to match the environment that you're standing in. But in that case, it's not as bright out, so this light can actually perform excellent even when working in an overcast environment and shooting through a modifier. Now, while the A10 is powerful enough when you're shooting in the same direction as the sun, when shooting in the opposite direction against the sun, we typically struggle with power and we need multiple lights to make up the power. Think like sunset when you're shooting into the sunset and it's still a little bright outside. Now, while I shoot portraits, I'm primarily a wedding photographer, and I typically bring 4 A10s with me whenever I'm photographing a wedding. I can see myself swapping 2 of those A10s for the 2 A2s, which will allow me to use the A2s for receptions and for portraits, where I would typically need to bring a B10 kit with me in case that I need it for the portrait session. Now, since the B10 is much less portable, I usually have to bring it in a separate bag. So using the A2 will let me cut down on a camera bag that I bring to a wedding. If you're like me and portability is a major concern for you, the A2 is going to be a great investment. Now, if I were investing in the Profoto ecosystem, which lights would I purchase and which order would I purchase them in? Well, this is going to depend highly on what you photograph, but here are my opinions. For wedding photographers, I would recommend that you invest in the A10 series first, then look at the A2, and then the B10, and finally the B10 Plus if you still need more power. I barely ever do though, to be honest with you. I would recommend investing in the B10 series first if you're a portrait photographer, because portability may not be as important to you because you're going to be carrying less equipment than we carry to a wedding. Now, if you're a headshot photographer, this is an obvious one. The B10 would be a much better first purchase because you can use them plugged into power if you're shooting all-day shoots on location, which we often do. The B10 is definitely our go-to for on-location headshots. Well, I wish that the A2 had a feature that allowed it to work plugged into power. It currently doesn't, so the B10, again, will be your best option for that. So there you have it. That's my opinion on the brand new Profoto A2. I think it's a solid addition to the Profoto lineup. It's got excellent build quality, great power, great portability, and this tiny but mighty light is something that photographers can rely on for years to come. Catch you on the next one.